access the front office cockpit via the side menu or the landing page. All other features on the landing page here are explained in our introduction video tutorial. For the purposes of this video, I will be the front office manager at this property. So I do the following. This is the current month I want to focus on. I review the figures from yesterday, and that I can do by hovering over the bar over here, and I'm able to see a breakdown of exactly what is in the system. And on the right hand side, I click on the day and see the hours imported from the timekeeping system. And if I'm happy with that, I save it. The weather feature is activated. This is especially useful for properties with outdoor restaurants, bars, pubs, a swimming pool, and even properties which is near the airport. And it's always 10 days into the future. Dates that are written in the color purple means a national holiday. This is country specific and does not include Christmas Day and New Year's Day. Two view options in the cockpit: productivity and hours. Here is a breakdown of the daily hours from the actual schedule that is imported into PMI. Various indicators on this chart: room nights, smart forecast, productive hours, and so on. Click a legend to activate it on the graph. Everything to the left of the black dotted vertical line are your historical hours and what the smart forecast was. To the right is all the hours from the current schedule. And here I can check if yesterday's figures are correct. If I have good alignment, great. However, let's take a closer look. Here I can see there was one receptionist that was sick, and the smart forecast suggested much more hours than I actually used compared to what my check-in and check-out was. So here I definitely need to follow up and see if everything went okay, and especially with the guests at check-in. So what can I learn from the past 17, 18 days of the month? Were there days where we were overstaffed or understaffed? How was the service affected by the different staffing levels versus activity levels? Did it impact the guest experience at all? What are the reviews on the various social platforms telling me? Or did I get some feedback from the team yesterday? For the past days, it's too late to adjust these now. However, is there anything we can do to improve the results going forward? Some factors I could consider short term could be perhaps we could focus on upselling for the rest of the month. For example, at check-in, the receptionist could focus on selling breakfast to those guests with breakfast excluded packages. Is the bar or restaurant open this week? Ensure my team knows the opening hours. Do the guests perhaps need a gym pass or a spa treatment? Is there anyone checking in that's celebrating a special occasion, for example, a birthday, a wedding anniversary? If so, would they like to purchase a special snack or beverage? So many possibilities to try and make up for the hours we could have avoided losing. Factors I could consider in the long run: we could speak to the team and find out what the time thieves are. Can the tasks on the daily checklist be streamlined? Could it be centralized checklists electronically? What about an incentive program for employees selling the various offers available at our property? We use a third party to do our upselling prior to guests' arrival, but when last did we actually take a look and update the offers on this website? That I should put on a checklist. Can we share workers with our sister hotel in the city? Can check-in and check-out processes be automated? Again, so many possibilities. Moving on to the future, as this I can do something about today. The blue bars here represent what is the actual schedule. So how aligned are the hours with the smart hour forecasted? Are there any differences? Let me have a closer look. Are there days where I'm overstaffed or understaffed compared to the expected activity for any of these future days? Is it possible to move around the hours, ensuring that I'm able to meet the correct staffing levels when needed? Based on the data here, I can clearly take a look at the schedules and make the adjustments so that everything is more aligned. Moving down further on the left here, you can follow the accumulated hours month to date or include the hours scheduled by month end. Choosing your local currency allows you to follow the accumulated labor cost per hour, which is calculated based on your reported total labor cost. Two more view options here. Total productivity. This includes productive and non-productive hours. Your non-productive hours are hours that are paid for by the property, but it was not part of your regular workday. So it could include PMI training, short and long-term sick leave, mandatory fire drill and evacuation training, and so on. The other, operational productivity, is the productive worked hours. On the right-hand side of the screen, you have the data table with all the relevant information for the month you are focusing on. Here you have the month-end forecasted hours. These are the hours you need to serve the forecasted cost driver. And the cost driver here is room nights. So how to calculate the productivity target? You use the cost driver, which is the room nights, divide by the hours for the month, and you are able to get your productivity target. And to calculate the smart forecast, which is the yellow line on the graph, this is your daily cost driver divided by the productivity. And if you take a closer look at the figures, we see that we forecasted just over 1,000 hours for this department. Month to date, we are already on 762 hours, and scrolling a little bit down, we are able to see at month end that we will end up with over 1,300 hours used. So here is definitely room for improvement so that we can try to align the hours with the activity at the hotel. All the figures are updated early each morning from the property management system at your property to ensure that you are making good decisions. You can manually input hours here. If, for example, the hours have not been scheduled in your timekeeping system, or you've forgotten because someone is sick and you needed another person to work. However, changes you manually make here will not reflect in your TKS. Also, all the hours from the schedule module will appear here. Use the note function as often as needed. This is a great way to keep track of unforeseen hours used on a specific day. It could be anything from staff on training or even sick leave. In this specific example, we had a flight cancellation, so we had 40 extra rooms to check in and check out. As soon as the comment is saved, it automatically appears on the management perspective for your general manager to see as well. It's always useful to understand how we ended up with the result. A little bit more on the data table here. The red horizontal line, everything above is the historic days, your past days, and then everything below is all future days. The highlighted one over here is today's date, so that's always in a darker font. Here above, you see the timekeeping system here is called time plan, and here you can see that these hours have been approved in the system. And then looking for today and then tomorrow for the next 2 days, then you see that it's in the color red, and this is because it is future hours that has not yet been updated in the system. And another example, just to show you very quickly, this is a cockpit that has not been saved from yesterday. And as you can see here, the time plan hours, the timekeeping system is in red, so hasn't been saved yet in the system. You are also able to click on any past day on your TKS system, and here you get an overview of all the hours used and exactly what it was. Further down on the data table is your month-to-date figures. Here you see how you are doing so far this month compared to the forecast, and month-end to see what you will end up with if you want to continue in this manner. This gives you a quick glimpse into any major changes that may be needed for the rest of the month. Here you also have the current average rate per hour, including social cost. Be sure to check that this is correct as it affects the labor costs. Depending on user rights, this may be only visible for you as the cockpit owner. And here, the scheduled hours. This shows the hours added in your PMI schedule. Unspecified means that it's imported from the timekeeping system or only scheduled as lump sums, and that means without a name. And one last comment on the graphs. Here's an example of shifts that are missing for the day. So let's do a quick recap of the daily routines in the cockpit. Labor cockpits should be saved at least 5 times a week by the cockpit owner. Update your timekeeping system before working in the cockpit. Look at the current month. Check the hours for yesterday and do adjustments where needed by clicking on the plus sign. Add any comments that you would like to keep track of for future purposes. If you don't have a TKS system installed yet, you will need to add the actual hours manually. Click on the plus sign for that specific day and enter the hours. Then you need to confirm and update the cockpit. So, check yesterday's hours and add your comments. Check the status of your actual productivity and hours month to date and the status for the rest of the month. Confirm that if you are behind your month-end target, you will look into the live forecast and schedule and try to align the staffing according to the activity level. Moving on to month-end routines. This can be done on the first working day of the new calendar month. So look at the month that passed. Are all the hours complete? Did we reach the productivity target that was set for this month? Summarize the highlights by adding a general comment on the last day of the month. So here's everything that went well and what your learnings were. Update the current rate here with the actual outcome after the P&L is ready at month-end closing. This task could be on the financial controller's checklist, so be sure to check what your properties routines are. And then, as with all the modules in PMI, hit the save button. More information on labor cockpits can be found in our knowledge base article and video tutorial series. Thank you and take care.